KMOX HD3 Boise, Iowa, KWI HD3 Sioux City, KOJI Okoboji, KALA HD2 Davenport, K291 BP Benendorf, in Texas, KXJT Rio Grande City, Washington, KSVR Mount Vernon, and in Wyoming, KOCA Laramie.
Be at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds.
Really? We went last year and it was a blast. What day is it?
Saturday, October 24th from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's going to be exhibits about how to build our own race cars and robots.
Are there going to be bottle rockets too? And are there going to be touch pools?
Yes, and we can code our own video games and see inside a helicopter and lots of other hands-on science.
Let's go tell Mom and Dad now. What day is it?
Saturday, October 24th, starting at 10:30 a.m. at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Admission and parking are free.
It has been 1 year since the disappearance of 43 teachers, college students in Ayotzinapa, Mexico, and we must not forget them. The Committee for Social Justice in Mexico invites you to a showing of the documentary film Ayotzinapa, The Chronicle of a State Crime, in Spanish, this Saturday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Carpenters Hall, 1700 Corby Avenue in Santa Rosa. Mark your calendar and join us in viewing this important information Saturday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Carpenters Hall, 1700 Corby Avenue in Santa Rosa. For more information, call 707-332-5989 or KBBF 707-545-8833.
KBBF radio that motivates profound thoughts in children.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT News, Modern Perspectives, Roundtable Discussions, and Interviews. I am your host, Kaiya Kramer, and this is episode 60. Yes, that is right. 60, 59 plus 1, 30 times 2. I'm not good at math. I apologize. But anyway, this is episode 60. Yes, we are still indeed on the air. And for those of you who are wondering, we will be here again next week. I know. Sorry to disappoint you. Bringing you more LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. And on this episode, which is titled Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference Translife, my interview with Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis. And she's sitting here in this room, and it's I'm gonna jump into how interesting that is for me in just a second here. And you didn't know that this show's not as sober as NPR, but.
Okay. I've watched the video streaming.
Okay, so you know my shenanigans a little bit.
Yes, I do.
Suegee Tamar-Mattis is a family physician who started and runs the transgender clinic at Santa Rosa Community Health Centers and is also an organizer of the Translife conference. My abilities to read blurbs have gone on to take me far in life, but. So I just want to give you a little agenda here of what is coming up this first hour here. I'll be interviewing Dr. Suegee here on this event and her work in the community. Also, too, in the second hour will be our news and perspectives portion of the show and be covering more antics from Kim Davis, one of our favorite county clerks, and a little bit of science for you, a little bit of sad trans news, which seems to be always the case. I'll be out of a job as soon as there's no more bad trans news, which I would be happy for. Please get me fired, everybody. And gender equality at work from Fast Company, or lack thereof. Anyway, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga, even though we're actually in Santa Rosa, but that's because, yeah, anyhow. Dr. Suegee, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I remember the last time I spoke to you, it was like on the other side of the table, or rather I was sitting on a table. and you were asking me questions, so now I get to. I mean, you don't have to sit on the table. But.
Good, because it looks kind of crowded on that table.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're all in the same business. We're all educators, right? So.
Yeah, and what's an important role you've had as an educator? I mean, literally out there on the front lines.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, the question that I ask everybody, and the question that I always pre-ask in emails with all my guests, if it's appropriate, I want to make sure everything is kosher, but the question I ask everybody within the context of the show, which is called The Queer Life, is what are your preferred gender pronouns, gender identity, and sexual orientation?
Awesome question. So I don't really care. None of the pronouns seem to fit me properly or seem right to me. So I'm like, I don't care. So I let people call me whatever they feel most comfortable calling me.
Hey you. No.
Hey you is okay as long as it's friendly, right?
Yeah.
It's like, just don't call me late for dinner or whatever, right? But so none of them actually seem to work too well for me. So I'm just not that hung up on the gender pronouns. So for me, it's not that big an issue. And as far as gender identity, also none of those gender identities seem to either feel absolutely right for me either. So that's another thing that I'm like, I'll just sort of hover somewhere out there. And then as far as sexual orientation, if I'm not feeling like I'm really identifying with any gender, then having a sexual orientation that tends to include people who do have a gender does, I think, then make me heterosexual because I'm not the same gender as the people that I'm having sex with. Does that make sense?
That was probably the most confusing answer I've ever gotten to that question. Which is awesome. And that's why we have this show.
Exactly.
to explain this. And of course, that's answer to that question there is actually can be the subject of entire episodes, multi-length episodes, of which we have gender identity being a spectrum, gender queer, gender fluidity, pansexuality, bisexuality. It was just recently Bisexuality Awareness Week, of which I didn't realize there was a week before, but now that I know, I'm like, hey, right on. And the website they have is they've got a really good primer on how to speak appropriately about bisexuality in the media. Yeah. They're like, don't say gay marriage. They say same-sex marriage. I was like, hey, that's logical there, so
makes sense.
But anyhow, here I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your work. I want to talk about this conference. Not necessarily in that order, but maybe. Let's talk about your work, because that's how I first met you. I met you at Brookwood Psychiatric, and for those of you in Santa Rosa, that's across the street from the police station.
Conveniently located.
Very conveniently located. And I was just walking right out.
Actually, it's Brookwood Health Clinic, and we do have the only walk-in psychiatry available in, I believe, anywhere in Sonoma County. We also serve uninsured and underinsured people. We see a lot of people who are homeless, and Yeah, and pretty much we see a lot of people who just don't feel comfortable getting care anywhere else or can't afford to get care anywhere else.
I mean, it's the one thing that I found that was interesting about that particular location was that you don't ask for insurance. So are you trying to get shut down and not make any money?
No, actually do. And we do have people fill in paperwork, and we do ask for insurance. And if people don't have any insurance and they don't have any way of paying, then we're not going to ask people to actually pay. We are there at that location to decrease barriers to healthcare in especially marginalized communities.
Wow. I mean, that's the one incredible thing that I found in discovering this place, because a lot of people say, and it doesn't matter where you're at, that mental health, in the very least, is extremely inaccessible. In Contra Costa County, they'll be saying that, everywhere I went, it's an issue, and it sounds like you guys have your hands full.
Yes, we do. We definitely do. We do take walk-ins, but people also have to wait a good 4 to 6 hours some days before they can get seen. But almost everybody gets seen that day, so that's the upside of that.
Right.
And we are part of the Santa Rosa Community Health Centers. Santa Rosa Community Health Centers is a federally qualified health center system in Santa Rosa, obviously. And I believe right now, 1 out of every 4 people who lives in Santa Rosa is a patient at one of our different clinics. So we have the Vista Clinic, the Lombardi Clinic, we have our clinic at the Brookwood Clinic. We also have a clinic out at Turning Point, which is through Brookwood, and at the Turning Point Drug Rehab Center. We have a pediatric clinic in Roseland. We just opened a dental clinic for people who are patients at any of our other clinics. That was actually about a year ago. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some of them, but we are a pretty big system these days.
Absolutely incredible. So the way I came into contact with you was I was at a point where I was deciding of wanting to get on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, which for transgender people just means if you were assigned male at birth, if you were born a dude, then you'll want to take chick hormones, just to put it in layman's terms. And so I was looking for my chick hormones. And it was interesting. My brother referred me to you and said that you were the transgender doctor. And now that I've talked to pretty much everybody in the transgender community in Sonoma County, which is a small space, statistically,
yes,
they see you as the trans doctor. How did that happen?
I came up to Santa Rosa to do residency, to do the family practice residency. And I figured that I would do residency here, and then I'd move back to the Bay Area to do transgender care, which is what I really wanted to do when going into medicine. And I realized within about a month or so being up here that I wouldn't have to leave. I'd be totally fine. There'd be plenty of work for me to do up here. And it's true, that Sonoma County is actually the second gayest county outside of San Francisco in the country. I'm sure most
people would agree with you.
Yep. And we also have a very large proportion of transgender people here in Sonoma County. I also see people from Napa County, Lake County, Mendocino County, and some parts of Marin County.
Oh, wow.
Because there really isn't anybody else north of San Francisco who's doing transgender care until you go over east into Sacramento.
So did somebody blackmail you into getting into this trans work? Or what? Or do you suffer from insanity as well?
I've been definitely accused of many things. Yes.
Okay.
And overcommitting and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But no, it's something I started working on a long time ago. Back in the 70s, I had a lot of friends who were trans back before there was a lot of options and back before there was any legal protections. And of course, even now in most of the United States, most states do not have any legal protections for people who are trans.
Right.
And California is one of the states that has some great protections for the transgender community. There's a lot of good legal protections here. People can't be discriminated against. So anyway, yeah. So I used to hang out with the transgender community back in the 70s, and I've sort of been very comfortable in that space ever since then. So I, of course, it made sense that I was going to go to medical school, and that's what I wanted to do in medicine.
Incredible work. Yeah, as always, thank you for your continued long day service. You know, I don't see you getting out of there until, you know, late, and it's like, oh, and then I'll like, I remember there's times I'd go in and I'd be like, oh, can I see Suegee, and then I'll like see you'll run around the corner, you'll be like, sure, yeah, I'll take you. You know, but it's. Thank you for your commitments to the community. I know on personal hand, so many trans people who feel like I tried to navigate Kaiser, or I tried to navigate Sutter, or what have you, and ran into roadblocks. Not that Kaiser and Sutter don't have their own policies.
Actually, Kaiser's got a really good system right now, and I cannot see people who are in the Kaiser system. I can see most people with most other insurances, or uninsured, or Medi-Cal or Medicare, but in Kaiser is really done a lot of really great work of the last 5 years, and they're doing an amazing job. So if you're in the Kaiser system, you're probably going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. Things are going very well with them.
You know, so I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Jennifer Slovis out of the trans clinic for Kaiser in Oakland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
yeah, she's great.
She's fantastic. And up here, the trans Kaiser doctor, Dr. Friedman, who said she had worked under you.
Yeah, who I trained actually. Yep.
So we know she's got good information.
Yes.
So there's definitely more resources out there even than
there used to be.
Even just several years ago.
Yeah, really, in the last 2 years, we've seen a huge change as far as medical coverage of transgender medical concerns. It used to be that transgender exclusion in insurance policies was the standard.
Right.
I believe right now that in California, you're not allowed to exclude transgender coverage or transgender care. In Medicare, Medi-Cal right now under PHP, Partnership Health Plan, which is the Sonoma County Medi-Cal sort of HMO, we are having really great luck getting people in for surgeries, for sex reassignment surgeries, for other sex change type surgeries with people at UCSF, and those are being covered by Medi-Cal right now, and that's been
no kidding,
really, really going very well. We also are getting most people's home runs now covered by Medi-Cal, which is also great.
You know, there's a lot of people that I've talked to, and people who have questioned me here on the show and asking and again, like, this is a long question with that could span many episodes. Yeah. But gender reassignment surgery, sexual reassignment surgeries, the sex change operation, quote unquote.
Right.
A lot of people think it's cosmetic.
Right. And I think that's how it was excluded for so many years. And I think that, really Kaiser did a lot of this work that showed that if you actually treat transgender people appropriately, that as far as like hormones and surgery and all that, you have much, much better outcomes overall. And it actually does save you money in the long run. San Francisco's City and County of San Francisco is one of the first places that started covering transgender care completely for anybody who worked for the city or county. And everybody was like, that's going to cost you so much money. That's going to destroy the insurance, take all the insurance money. It's going to destroy the whole system. They found out that it actually only cost a couple of pennies more per person to make sure everybody has appropriate coverage. And it actually does save you money in the long run, because you actually do have much, much better long-term health outcomes. People have less depression. They have less mental health issues. They are much more productive at work. They continue to stay productive and in the workforce over a longer period of time.
So this creates more productive units in our society.
Yep. And so, you have healthier people. They will be more productive in society, and they will cost your healthcare system a lot less. And by appropriately treating transgender people for their basic health issues, which includes hormones and transitional surgery,
right,
you are actually keeping people healthy and keeping people healthier and more productive over their lifetime.
For everybody just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. Again, I am interviewing Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis here, talking about eventually the Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference, Translife, and about transgender issues in the modern day, especially here in Sonoma County. And I usually have a disclaimer at the beginning of the show saying that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, look up all the information for yourself or consult a doctor. Well, we've got a doctor on the show today.
Right, but I'm not giving any individual healthcare advice here, right?
Right, exactly. Here, again, consult your own
doctor.
Doctor. And so here, one of my questions that I wrote down in my little program here is being a Sonoma County doctor that works with a lot of trans patients. What would you say the state of transliness, if you will, is in Sonoma County, and is it reflective of how it is at large?
No, that's a good question. I think that's one of the things I've noticed seeing, having worked both in San Francisco and then out here, is you see a lot of, well, the transgender community here in Sonoma County is a really, really diverse community, and it's also really diffuse. So it is actually spread out over a large space, right? Both, Sonoma County, Napa County, and Lake County, and Mendocino County is all like part of the greater northern part of California, right? And we do see that this community is very spread out in so many ways that a lot of people don't know each other, they don't meet each other. There's no actual place or the people would be seeing each other. And so people tend to be a little more isolated here than they would be in, San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland, those kind of areas. So that's one of the reasons I thought we should put on a community building conference. I was like, we need to get everybody together so that we can get people to meet each other. We can start getting all those interactions happening, and we can get build a stronger community and do some very, just community organizing and make this community stronger, more able to know who are the other members in the community, and figure out what needs to be done and what issues are really important and how to get those needs met.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a good place to jump into talking about this conference here. On your on your description on your Eventbrite, it says Translife, building our community, the transgender community. And so you go on and you talk about, so this it sounds like this conference is built specifically for the transgender community itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is specifically for the transgender community. There's I have a lot of interest from a lot of people who are professionals and lawyers or doctors or psychologists. This is not a conference. It's not an educational conference.
So
this
you
is
can't
really,
get CEUs.
There's no CEUs. There's no programs for people who are, who are not trans.
Right.
This is definitely all about the transgender community, as well as, the loved ones and families of the transgender community, right? People who are in the transgender community because they are part, they're families and related and loved by people in the community.
Right.
And everybody within that community is welcome to be there and to work on this project, basically. And so we've been very lucky. So we have the Glasser Center, which is the Unitarian Church in downtown Santa Rosa. We are running from 9:30 till 5 on Saturday, October 17th. We are very, very lucky that Marcy Bowers has agreed to come and do our keynote speech.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And for people who don't know who Marcy Bowers is she's a surgeon. She does transgender sex reassignment surgeries in the South Bay, and also she has an office up in Seattle. And she is the first transgender person who has been a surgeon to do these surgeries. So she's got a very inspiring story, and she's going to talk about, about all those issues too. And I'm really excited that she's going to be there to
incredible. Yeah.
Kick off the whole conference. Then we're going to go and break out into affinity groups. And so we'll have groups for people who identify as transgender women, transgender men, genderqueer. We'll have groups for teens and younger kids, as well as, or transgender teens and transgender younger kids, as well as for parents, and also a group for partners. And that'll be like the second breakout session. And in that session, we'll start looking at what people are going to be needing, and what meeting everybody getting. We'll start getting people to meet each other at that point, right? And we'll start talking about what the needs are of the community. And then after that, we'll be going into different sessions that'll be more educational about what other issues might be coming up, what different community resources there are, and then sort of the last set of workshops is going to be a little more fun, a lot more maybe not quite as intense. And then we're going to end the day with a sort of a where do we go from here discussion with everybody who's there, and start planning what we're going to do to address some of the issues that have come up during the day. And we've already started planning for the second conference next year.
No kidding.
So,
oh my gosh. With great demand, I must imagine.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So sounds like you don't get to retire.
No, I don't see myself retiring anytime, maybe ever. But it's going to be a really exciting day. We've got great people. We've got Matt Woods from the Transgender Law Center coming up to talk about identity documents. We have local attorney Kaiya Kramer to talk about transgender issues in family law. We have, we have Ella from San Francisco. It's the Transgender Latinos group is coming up to talk. We actually have Spanish translators also. They're going to be there the whole day. We have a very large population of monolingual Spanish-speaking transgender women in Sonoma County. And we also will have applications assistance from Santa Rosa Community Health Centers to help people sign up for insurance, for Obamacare, for Medi-Cal, or whatever, to figure out what there are, what is available for them, and help them to sign up for that. We're going to have the Drug Abuse Alternative Centers will be there with HIV, rapid HIV testing and rapid hepatitis C testing. I believe we're going to have a pop-up bookstore there from Copperfield to sell books on transgender issues. I think it's going to be a great day. And there'll be lunch and, snacks and coffee and places for the kids to hang out. And
And as there are a lot of trans people who are low income or no income, how much will this cost?
This conference is free. And we are able to do that because we got a very generous grant from both the Santa Rosa Community Health Centers, as well as from the Sonoma County LGBT Giving Circle. And we also got grants, a grant from the Russian Rivers Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. So this is a completely free conference.
Incredible.
And including free lunch. And we will accept donations, of course. If you have the means to donate, that's great. That'd be awesome. But if you have, if you don't, then I really want to make this as a low barrier to participation as possible, so people could be able to come in and meet the rest of people in the community and get to know people and get a lot of the information that we're going to have available.
Absolutely. Again, everybody, if you are just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am interviewing Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis. This is episode 60, Sonoma County World Transgender Conference, Translife. You can find this episode and more available on thequeerlife.org. Information for this Translife conference is available on our website. We have a link up to the event where you can get tickets and more information on that. But we are going to go away for a short break here. Here's some words from our sponsors, but we will be right back. I'm going to be asking Dr. Suegee here some more questions about the conference and getting into some more details here. Again, thanks so much for listening. You're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM.
KBBF 89.1, la primera radio bilingüe comunitaria en los Estados Unidos.
Enriquezca su acervo cultural. Escuche KBBF, la voz de la comunidad.
All right, everybody. Hello. You are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I'm your host, Kaiya Kramer, and this is episode 60, Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference. Yeah, I can totally talk. I'm good at my job. Yeah.
It's Friday, by Friday. What are you going to do?
And I'm interviewing Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis here, who has been named by many transgender people here in Sonoma County as the trans doctor, and has been doing some pretty incredible work. We've been talking about this conference that you're putting on, the Translife conference here. Again, another trans prefix. Way to go. No. It seems to be trans everything these days. No, so the last thing you were saying is that this conference is actually going to be for trans people, and families and friends, but it's also going to provide a whole heck of a lot of services, from legal to some in medical nature.
Right. So we're doing a lot of, it's really education. Well, first and foremost, it's the subtitle is Building Our Community. So that's the subtitle of this conference, the Translife Conference, Building Our Community. So the first important thing we're doing is we're doing community building in the transgender community for Sonoma County and surrounding counties. And in doing that, also we're bringing in a lot of people from many different organizations that serve the transgender community, so that people know what is available to them and will actually learn things that they'll be able to use right away. We have, and we were saying, we have people coming from the Transgender Law Center. We have local family law attorney talking about family law for the transgender community.
Can you talk about the Transgender Law Center for our listeners that don't know what that is?
The Transgender Law Center is located in either Oakland or San Francisco. I can't remember now anymore.
I think they're in San Francisco.
They're still in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're located in San Francisco, and they were started many years ago to specifically look at issues that transgender people face. They did a lot of work in helping people navigate identity documents, because for most people who are transgender, as you change your gender, you also need to change your legal paperwork, which is both your name and your gender legally, which became a lot harder after 9/11. It was a lot easier before then, and so it became a much more difficult process.
Yeah, because all trans people are terrorists.
It's just a lot more difficult now.
Yeah.
But then again, in the last few years, it once again became actually a lot easier than it ever has been, in that we have had a lot of new laws come into effect that allow people to get their passports changed, their social security changed, much more easy than it ever used to be.
Incredible.
And so it's things are really, really changing. We've been able to see changes in the last 2 years even that have just been amazing.
Yeah.
We were talking about many insurances now covering transgender healthcare. We're talking about a lot of the legal issues, at least for the state of California, have gotten much, much better. And federally for both the passport and social security issues have also gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I know. I just went through that whole process here myself in Sonoma County, and I will be releasing a step-by-step on how to exactly do that, because it was kind of a charade, running around to all the different places and figuring out which order. It's a little irritating.
It's a little tough, but actually the Transgender Law Center has a whole guide on how to do it, which is pretty straightforward. So yeah, it takes a little work, but it's not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, it can be done, and there's even financial help from the courts to get it done too.
Right. It used to be that you had to publish your name change in one of the local papers, which was expensive, took a lot of time, and also really actually put your health condition out there for the whole world to see. And that was done away with about a year ago now. So now you no longer have to actually publish that you are transgender in the newspaper when you're getting your name and gender changed. You actually can keep that between, you and the courts where it belongs. And of course it's on file and anybody can look it up, but you're not having to publish it, which was also a very big expense in doing your name change as well.
Wasn't the original impetus for publishing it in a newspaper being like to avoid credit fraud or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it has been in the past pretty common for people to, when they were changing things, to publish it in the newspaper, right? And also when somebody starts doing business under a business name, they need to publish that, and they still need to publish that in a newspaper. Although, it is kind of odd because newspapers are beginning to be less of an important source of information for people.
Yeah, what's a newspaper?
Very few people know that these days.
Yeah. But thank you for bringing that up here, because a lot of people don't realize that there's all these resources available and a lot of change that's happened in the modern day in terms of trans awareness and trans legality.
Absolutely. It's really been a huge change, and really in the last 2 years it's just been spectacular. That change has been amazing.
I mean, most people who have a Netflix account seem to think that it was all Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox
is awesome. She is awesome. And did make it to the cover of Time magazine because she is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, awesomeness abound. It's this change has happened because of the work of everybody in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Not because Jeffrey Tambor is now playing a trans woman on Amazon Prime.
Right. Right. Exactly. It's been a long, long haul. It really has been. But once again, we are seeing such things happen that would have been unimaginable even a few years ago. So this is, I mean, it's a very exciting time to be working in the trans community. It's a very upbeat time.
Has it ever not been exciting? I mean,
it has been. It's been really rough. I mean, there were, and even now there are. There's a lot of transphobia. There's a lot of physical attacks on trans people.
What's transphobia for people who haven't heard that word?
It's people who technically, it means people who are afraid of transgender people, but that's usually people who are discriminating against transgender people, and which is related to the word homophobia, which is people who are discriminating
But that's not the
against.
same thing. Transphobia is not the same as homophobia.
Right. It's the same thing as homophobia, but for transgender people.
Okay.
And and because people have such, there is so much discrimination, and there is so much anger in some ways against transgender people in parts of society, we do see that there are a lot of transgender people who are physically attacked, are discriminated against at work, and in housing, and in healthcare even, and that the attacks against transgender people tend to be a lot more violent than the attacks against gay people. They often end up, or more likely end up, in physical injury as well as in death. I have lost track. I know by February in the United States, we'd had 17 transgender women who had been murdered in the 48 states. I have lost track of how many it's been since February, but I know that was a pretty high number even recently for that early in the year. And so this is definitely a lot of stuff that is still going on, and is still things we need to be aware of, even though, Caitlyn Jenner is out there doing her thing, and we've got great role models that are showing up all the time now. There's still a lot of issues that the transgender community has to deal with.
Yeah, and now you can go out and get a costume of Caitlyn Jenner for Halloween.
Yes. In fact, so I have to say, I just saw that they have a sexy Donald Trump costume available.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what to even think of any of it anymore.
That sounds oxymoronic.
It does. And the best part is it sells for $65.
Oh, there's the joke.
Yeah. You have to be Donald Trump to afford it.
And certainly no trans people are going to be getting that. Unless you're Caitlyn Jenner, but I don't think Caitlyn Jenner is
going to be buying that either.
Yeah.
But I think the Caitlyn Jenner costume also does really show that there is still a lot of transphobia and people that are, interested in making fun of people who are transgender. So we definitely have a long way to go. Things have gotten a lot better, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I actually hear a lot around here in Sonoma County, in San Francisco County, and the Bay Area at large. We're in this sort of liberal, progressive, educated
sort of
bubble of peace, love, and happiness, and rainbows, and unicorns and stuff. But there's still discrimination that goes on around here.
Yeah, there's plenty of discrimination that goes around here too. So, I mean, even here, people can have a lot of problems and can be harassed. I mean, once again, in California, you do have a lot more legal rights and than most states do have for the transgender community. But, like I said, there's still a long way to go. There's still a long way to go. Things are getting a lot better, but there's still a long way to go.
Right. Let's jump back to the conference here for a second. You said that you were going to be doing education for parents of trans youth, trans kids. Are there, and a lot of listeners out there are wondering, are there a lot of trans youth in the area?
Yeah, there are plenty of trans youth in the area. There's trans youth both, I think in my clinic, my youngest patient just turned 5. My oldest patient in my transgender clinic is 81. And
no kidding.
Yeah, so and that's why I'm a family practice doctor, so I can span the whole life cycle, right?
Yeah.
And there are plenty of transgender youth here in Sonoma County, and really there's a lot of trans youth everywhere, but we definitely have a lot of parents that are ready to listen to their kids about their gender experience and to help them in their quest to be who they really are.
So there are a lot of parents who are open to the idea of their kid being trans.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we see a lot of that, and we have so in the what we call the affiliations portion, so where people from different parts of the community are going to be able to sit down and meet each other. I think that the parents are very excited to meet each other as well, and to see who else is there and what kind of issues are coming up for everybody. I know Kaiser has a specific group. If you are a Kaiser member, they have a group for parents of transgender kids also. And there is another group that meets at Positive Images. There's a group of parents of transgender kids.
Right.
That meets, and this is mostly young transgender kids, with,
right.
12 and under. And then, of course, PFLAG is which is Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. They also are for parents of adult kids who are transgender.
If there's any trans parents of transgender kids out there listening right now, what would you say to them if they're feeling like what do I do with my kid? If they're
feeling isolated.
Yeah,
I'd say definitely come to the conference for sure. And then also get online and find the parents group over at Positive Images in Santa Rosa. And there are there's a great group that is in the East Bay. I think they're located in Orinda. That's called, now I'm going to have to think about it for a second. I can see their logo. I'll get back to it, but it's a group for parents of young trans kids.
Okay.
They actually hold a summer camp every year, and they hold I think it's in July. They do a conference every year in July for parents and the kids.
Okay.
That's in Berkeley.
So this this support is all over the Bay Area in some form or another.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this show, we reach all the way up to Reading. Yes, there are trans people up there. You can come down here if you want.
I have seen people from Reading. Yes.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening,
drive.
We're sorry for the drive. Also, this show reaches down to the South Bay. So, so these parents out there, they can come to the conference and they can, at the very least, talk to each other about shared experiences.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And once again, as we're doing a lot of community building, it was a very good opportunity for parents to meet each other. Actually, the group for parents of young transgender children is called Spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find that online. It is a really excellent group. They have really done a lot of groundbreaking work. They have a book that they published several years ago on for parents, kind of like a handbook for parents on having a transgender child.
Right.
So they've done a lot of really good work.
A lot of people seem to think that the only trans kid in the world is Jazz Jennings.
Right, exactly. I'm sorry, it's actually Gender Spectrum is the name of it. Gender Spectrum.
Gender Spectrum. Yeah. I think I need to add a couple more links to my support page on the Queer Life website here. And again, though, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I'm interviewing Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis about the Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference, Translife, which will be taking place in Santa Rosa, October 17th,
9:30 to 5.
9:30 to 5. Okay. I was looking at my notes. I'm like, I didn't write down the time. This is not like Frasier. I don't have Roz over in the
that's okay.
In the corner there. Okay.
You don't need Roz over in the corner.
That's okay.
You're doing great.
But
and we have, if you're looking for it on Eventbrite, just search Translife. If you're looking for our Facebook page, you have to search Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference.
Absolutely. And again, if you need those links to the event, we've got them available on thequeerlife.org, or just Google The Queer Life. And that will bring you to our page there, as well as this interview if you are just tuning in, or or any other interview of this show. So we are rounding up here on the last several minutes of the interview. That does go fast.
It does.
It is a little hot in here, but I wanted to ask you just what our as I like to give people answers, give people calls to action. What can, I mean, other than if you're trans or you are a family or a friend of trans, come to this conference. A lot of people are wondering, who are very supportive of trans or LGBT in general. They wonder how they can help. So what do you recommend that for people who, I mean, you don't have to be LGBT to help the LGBT community.
Right. So I'd say first, of course, education is a really important thing. So if you don't feel like you know enough, definitely there are plenty of books out there. You can go to Copperfield's, you can go search online. There's a lot of books on the transgender community and transgender issues. And so definitely becoming educated is the first big step.
Right.
And then I think the other big issue in being an ally is to realize you probably do know transgender people already, but those people may not feel comfortable enough to be coming out to you or letting you know that they are transgender.
So they would be closeted.
Yeah. So if you are able to, be more open about, I've been learning more about transgender stuff and this is like great. And, that's another part of the step. And to, then you can start looking around and seeing where else you think you could be helping out the community. But actually, this is really a civil rights issue as much as anything else, right? We've seen the civil rights issues with the lesbian, gay, bisexual community. We now have the ability of people of same sex to get married, which is great. We're now beginning to start seeing what are the issues for the transgender community. And so this is like the next step in this progression of civil rights.
Right.
And so, we always need people in civil rights movements to be there to talk to people and to, educate everybody else and to donate their time and money to whatever group seems to be calling to them more.
Right. And for the people who are skeptics and on the fence and wondering, what's the big deal? Why do we need to pay attention to this transgender stuff? When I was a kid, there was just gay.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
what's why should that person pay attention to the existence of transgender people and why they need rights?
Well, being transgender is just a natural part of being human. You see, if you look in all different cultures, there is a group of people that we would call transgender if we're looking at it through our cultural lens, but who would be considered gender different in whatever way it is in that particular culture. So this is just the extension of what it is to be human. And the more that people can be who they truly are, the better off we all are, right? The more that people are free, the more that every person is free, the more everybody is free. And as we are starting to see people who know that there is such a thing as transgender out there, we're seeing people who are able to come out at younger ages and not have to wait until they're in their 40s or 50s or 60s and have had to live a life that wasn't right for them.
Right.
And have all the emotional issues that go along with that and all the psychosocial issues that go along with that. You can actually start dealing with this much earlier age with a lot more support, and you actually will have so much better, a much better life, a much healthier life, and usually a much happier life as well.
A lot of people, focus on the youth being a really big hotbed of issues when it comes to trans advocacy, because of school policies and the access to gender appropriate facilities.
Right.
And there's the people that are just saying, oh well, just let kids be kids kind of arguments. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a fire truck, or Mike Huckabee saying, if I was allowed to pretend to be a girl, I'd be in the women's locker room looking at all the girls in the showers. I mean, what's how do we move beyond this thing, because a lot of people think that these are adult ideas being put on children's minds and bodies.
Right, but these are kids who are coming up with these ideas, right? And that gender is not like wanting to be a fire truck. I mean, gender is such a very core part of a person's being, and to have to pretend that that's not that you are somebody that you're not is a very big stress in one's life and does cause a lot of problems. Gender is not like, I mean, this whole thing about, oh my goodness, if we have like, gender neutral bathrooms, or we have like, people can go into the bathroom that they identify with, and we're going to have like all these horrible things happening.
Right.
That is such a complete made up kind of panic issue. It is not happening. It's not going to happen. If you look at a lot of other countries, they have gender neutral bathrooms.
Right.
It's fine. There's no problem. We were in Prague this summer, like a whole bunch of bathrooms in public places are gender neutral, right? It's like, you have stalls, people come out and wash their hands, so you can hear like somebody of a different gender peeing. It's not going to ruin the whole entire universe. Things aren't going to like fall apart because of that, right? So this is the kind of sort of silliness that we're looking at in some ways. But yet again, this is also comes with all these really sort of hateful comments as well.
Right.
And hateful ideas and oppressive ideas. And these are the things that we need to be approaching. And many people are beginning to uncover and bring into the light and look at how really ridiculous these concepts are, and how people being who they are is not going to destroy the family, and how people becoming more of who they feel that they are is actually better for everybody.
Well said. We have just a couple minutes left here. My last question for you, and to address this to the audience, is if there's if there was somebody who's questioning their gender identity or sexual orientation while listening to this show, what would you recommend to them? What would you say that they should do?
There are a lot of great support groups in Sonoma County. There is a support group for transmasculine identified people. That's people born in female bodies who identify as male. There's a support group for transfeminine people born in male bodies who identify as female. You can easily go online. Mostly you can actually find a lot of this at Positive Images. I know that Santa Rosa JC has a trans support group, and I know Sonoma State also has a transgender support group if you are in either of those places as well. There's a lot of support here in Sonoma County, and definitely start reaching out and finding people.
I'm going to have to harvest you for some links here.
Absolutely, no problem. And then also, if you are looking for healthcare, and as long as you're not a Kaiser patient, if you're a Kaiser patient, all you have to do is call up your Kaiser or email your Kaiser doctor and let them know that you are interested in transgender healthcare, and they will get you hooked up into their excellent system there. If not, and you want to come see me, you can call us at the Vista Health Center. The number there is 707-303-3600 for the transgender clinic. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining me here on the show and sharing all your wonderful knowledge. And again, just to let our listeners know that I'm interviewing Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis here on the Translife Sonoma County Transgender Conference, which will be on October 17th, 9:30 to 5. Yeah. And again, if you are just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. Again, I am your host, Kaiya Kramer. This is episode 60, Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference, Translife. My interview with Dr. Suegee. And you can find this episode and more and links. I'm going to be adding some more links onto the site as soon as I get home. Yes, I have no life on the queerlife.org. If you have a hard time typing in the queerlife.org, you can use the amazing, powerful Google and Google The Queer Life. Anyhow, we will be back after this short break and some words from our sponsors and jump into the news and perspectives portion of the show and be doing a brief interview with Karen from Food for Thought HIV Food Bank, which will be having an event coming up this month. Okay, again, you're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. Be right back.
This is KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. Esta es KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga.
Space exploration, catapults, tide pools.
What'd you say?
Animal skeletons, bottle rockets, and live raptors.
Now I remember. It's time for the North Bay Science Discovery Day, Saturday, October 24th from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m.
It's going to be at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds, and there will be fun, hands-on science and technology exhibits for the whole family. There's going to be booths about how to build your own race cars and robots.
Why don't you go and ask if the neighbors want to go too? Tell them it's Saturday, October 24th, starting at 10:30 a.m. at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds. Admission and parking are free.
It has been 1 year since the disappearance of 43 teachers' college students in Ayotzinapa, Mexico, and we must not forget them. The Committee for Social Justice in Mexico invites you to a showing of the documentary film Ayotzinapa, The Chronicle of a State Crime, in Spanish, this Saturday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Carpenters Hall, 1700 Corby Avenue in Santa Rosa. Mark your calendar and join us in viewing this important information Saturday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Carpenters Hall, 1700 Corby Avenue in Santa Rosa. For more information, call 707-332-5989 or KBBF 707-545-8833.
Está usted escuchando una radio cultural al servicio del norte de la bahía, KBBF 89.1 de FM.
All right, everybody. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaiya Kramer, and this is episode 60, Sonoma County World Transgender Conference, Translife, my interview with Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis, who is a local family physician who runs the transgender clinic at Santa Rosa Community Health Centers, and she is also the organizer for the Translife conference. If you've missed that interview and you would like to catch all the very, very important details about that, visit thequeerlife.org, hit episode 60, which will be at the top of the page, and you will find a YouTube link, also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher or TuneIn or whatever app of choice for your media consumption, and stay educated, stay on it. If you want, as Dr. Suegee was saying in the last hour, if you want to stay up on being an ally for the LGBT community, first off, educate yourself and help to educate others. And just sort of as like a side comment and a disclaimer that I always semi put out there about this show and the context of this show. And this show is called The Queer Life. This show is about LGBT issues and news and all that kind of stuff. But I also want to make the acknowledgement and set the presence of mind that yes, there are other issues on this planet. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag women need equal pay. We need to have racial equality. We need to have people who are on disparate income levels being treated the same. We need to have access to medical care. We need people who are refugees or what have you to places. There's a bunch of issues on this planet. Not to mention polarized melting. Did I mention that? I think I might have mentioned that before. I'm actually I'll be honest. I'm tired of talking about LGBT stuff. Let's get over all the discrimination, the misunderstanding. Even if you don't know what the gay thing is about, quote unquote, or what the transgender thing is about, let's work together to be at an equal level of understanding and raise our level of consciousness, so that we can just be chill with each other, even if we don't necessarily have all the information. Like I said, polar ice caps are melting. Flares from the sun are blasting through space that could, throw out our power grid at any time. A meteor could come and hit the planet, and then we're all toast. So let's get to the peace, love, and happiness portion of the human race and our existence sooner rather than later. And then then bring that to Mars with Matt Damon, because I totally want to see that new movie that's coming out. But anyhow, here we have a couple minutes before I'll be talking with Food for Thought Food Bank. I'll be talking with Rachel Gardner about their new upcoming events here, which I'll have more information on soon. You can find the information for that on thequeerlife.org. This is episode 60. But after that, in the last 30 minutes of the show, I'll be getting into the news and perspectives portion of the show. I'll be talking about our favorite county clerk from Kentucky, Kim Davis, and her denial of giving out marriage licenses to same-sex couples, and more on that, and how she did have a meeting with the Pope and sort of deconstruct what that meeting means from the actual information that we have. I'm going to be talking about on feeling like a failure. Seth Godin writes about feeling like you are not getting ahead in life, and feeling like you are struggling, and how to battle that, because I think that's something we all deal with. I'm also going to be talking about an article for planettransgender.com. A Maryland trans woman first to successfully sue the prison system for mistreatment. Yes, trans women in the prison system are still facing abuse and mistreatment from not only their fellow prisoners, but the inmates, but the staff as well. And also, to close up the evening, I'll be talking about an article from fastcompany.com. Lydia Dishman writes, "Why we're still so far behind on gender equality at work." Again, all that and more here on the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I'm your host, Kaiya Kramer. We're here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. We replay every Tuesday night from 9 to 11 p.m. here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga, and are syndicated on KWTF 88.1 FM Bodega Bay, which has an online stream. So if you like to do the online radio stream via the TuneIn app, or just go onto their website, KWTF's website, they have that available as well. But if you want a high quality, no interruptions version of the show, I encourage you to go check out our podcast on iTunes or on Stitcher or on whatever your media consumption app of your choice is. It's all available, and we're on YouTube. And like us on Facebook, because everybody needs to be liked on Facebook. You know, yeah, there we go. Facebook self-esteem. Let's be friendsies on Facebook. Sorry, I'm being a little facetious here. Anyhow, I'm going to go away for a short break real quick here. But after that, we'll be back, and I'll be talking with Rachel Gardner from Food for Thought Food Bank, HIV Food Bank here in Sonoma County. All right, you're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. Be right back. right, everybody, again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews here on KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga. I'm your host, Kaiya Kramer, and for this portion of the show here, I will be speaking with Rachel Gardner here from Food for Thought Food Bank. Food for Thought's mission is to nourish and serve our community by providing healthy food and compassion to people living with HIV and AIDS and other critical illnesses. I'm going to bring Rachel here up on the line. Hey, Rachel, can you hear me?
I can. Nice to be with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. I think this is the first remote broadcast I've had from Food for Thought and presenting the work that you guys are doing.
Great. Well, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, so first off, can you talk a little bit about what Food for Thought is generally and what your role has been with Food for Thought?
Sure. Well, Food for Thought is a grassroots nonprofit, and we've been around for 27 years. And the food bank was founded to provide nutrition services to people living with HIV and AIDS in the county. And so the agency was founded by folks who lived in the community, who were taking care of people that they knew and loved, who were dying of AIDS in the very early days of the epidemic. The Sonoma County community was hit really hard. There was I think at one point, the highest rural population of people living with HIV in the country. And so it was founded by volunteers and activists and grew as the epidemic did. We're now a really diverse agency. We still serve, the majority of our clients are gay men, many of whom have been living with HIV for decades and are aging and still very much in need of our services. We have now a lot of women who are clients, a lot of people from the Latino community, a lot of heterosexuals. It's kind of as diverse as Sonoma County is. And as the epidemic has changed to, where people are living healthier lives with HIV, we have been shifting to provide much healthier food and keep people healthy for the long haul. So it's a great volunteer-run agency, and we serve over 700 people, men, women, and children in the county. And I've been involved. I've been there for 14 years, and mostly doing client services, and I do other administrative kind of work there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing, for the work that Food for Thought Food Bank is doing, and serving the larger community. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a big need in the community, and it's a great opportunity for people to volunteer. A lot of our clients volunteer, and there's still so much stigma around HIV, and so much stigma still around being gay and about needing help in our culture that we really do our best to treat people very respectfully and in a dignified kind of way, and not to try to counter whatever feelings of shame or lack of self-esteem that people can feel when they're needing to come to a food bank. It's actually a really festive and beautiful place, and it feels like a community and family there.
Absolutely incredible. So these people with these illnesses can come with you without fear of rejection, and get help and get food, right?
Exactly. We have a beautiful organic garden all around the building, and the basic service is weekly groceries. We also have vitamins and nutritional supplements, nutritional counseling. We do cooking classes and lunches and all kinds of things. So yeah, it's a pretty sweet place, and we're expanding. Just in this past year, we made the decision as an agency to expand and serve people living with other illnesses as well, because there is such a need in the community of people who either don't have the funds or don't have a caregiver and who are sick and don't have enough to eat. So we can't solve the whole problem of that in the county, but we really want to do our part and do as much as we can.
Where are you guys located?
we're in lovely downtown Forestville, and it's fairly central. It's sort of not close to much, but it's very central. So we deliver to about a third of our clients who are not able to travel to the food bank.
You deliver. You actually bring it to people's homes.
We do. If our clients are not able to get there because they're ill or they don't have the funds for gas or they don't have transportation, we do deliver. All of our services are free of charge and almost all done by volunteers. We have, though, I have to say, really, really super healthy food. So it's not, people who come to us don't just get like a preset bag of groceries that, you know, it's like, here, this is what you get to eat now. But
yeah, it's not just so it's not just like a bag of lentils and
no,
then here you go.
It's not. We have a lot of fresh produce. We have really high quality proteins. We have grains and really healthy food, and every week our clients get to order off a list so that they have choice about what they want to eat.
So they have choices? This
They
is
do.
pretty incredible.
I know. It is, but you know, it's for people who are not feeling well, and you know, I mean, I think we can all relate to it. Many of us have been quite ill at various points in our lives, or even if we just know, you know, we've had minor illnesses, and you know, if you don't have an appetite and you're feeling despondent and also dealing with isolation and other kinds of issues, and you just kind of get, and you're not in the mood to eat that, it's really not going to help. And so we have a range of groceries and also prepared meals, because our idea is really that we want to get people to eat.
Right.
And so having that choice on any given day, I think, is really important. And it also, you know, we want people to not have to lose their autonomy just because they are in need of some services. So I know when I go to the grocery store and I look at, you know, the big pile of apples in the case, I know, you know, I want to pick out the apple I want, you know.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you just get to kind of choose what you want and take some ownership in it. And so the attitude really isn't like, oh, you know, you're getting help, so you should just be happy with whatever you get. You know, there's, I think it's just a justice issue, and we're just helping to make that happen. Everybody should have the food that they need to eat.
That absolutely justice is the right word for that, because I find, as you were saying, there is a lot of stigma when it comes to people who are living with HIV or AIDS or other very, very serious illnesses, and denial of services or mistreatment or disrespect seems to be rampant, at least from the people that I've communicated with.
Right.
And the fact that you guys exist is amazing. And for our listeners out there, I do have a link to Food for Thought Food Bank's website on thequeerlife.org. You can also Google Food for Thought Food Bank Sonoma County, and you can find them as well. But so you guys have an event coming up called Calabash. Could you tell us about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, it's this coming Sunday, the 4th, from 1 to 5 p.m., and it's at the Food Bank in Forestville. And this is our 15th year of doing Calabash. We call it a celebration of gourds, art, and the garden. And it's a big festival that is a silent auction of gourd art, and we're also including book art this year. And we have, it's all about gourds in the garden and art, and the theme of kind of the way that art and community are healing. The food and wine are wonderful, and there's live music with professional musicians playing mostly gourd instruments. All the artwork is fantastic, and it's all donated by local artists, and that's auctioned. We have a big display we have an antique store called Food for Thought Antiques in South Sebastopol, right on Gravenstein Highway.
Wow.
That exists just to raise money for the food bank, and they're going to be selling stuff there, and the gardens are at their peak. And so it's a really festive day. It's our second biggest fundraiser of the year. We have another one coming up at the very beginning of December, Dining Out for Life, which is something that everybody can participate in because there's 85 restaurants all over the county that people can eat in that help us out. But I totally invite anybody interested to come to Calabash this Sunday. It's a really good time and it's a great cause. And I think it's been voted like 3 years in a row through the Bohemian the best nonprofit event.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not exaggerating.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So you can visit Calabash, a festival of gourds, art, and the garden, which is happening on Sunday from October 4th, 2015, from 1 to 5 p.m. On Railroad Avenue in Forestville. And so this event is open to everybody, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We usually have big crowds, and it's a really, like I said, it's a really festive event. The music and the food and wine, and there's tours of the gardens, and anybody who is interested in coming is absolutely welcome. I think it's $45 the day of the event. $40 if you buy tickets in advance, which you could do on the website. Or by coming by the food bank. And it's a lovely part of the county. If you haven't been out to West County, to Forestville, it's a really sweet little town.
Fantastic. I want to also ask, too, since this is a volunteer-run organization, how can people help if they want to help?
Well, it's actually very easy. You could go on that same website, and there's links to the volunteer information. You could fill out a form showing your interest right on the website, or you can call get in touch with our volunteer manager. We do an orientation for new volunteers on the third Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. at the food bank. And I'll just put a plug in. We are especially in need of clients who are Spanish speaking. So because we have an ever-growing population of clients who only speak Spanish, and we really are committed to serving them as well as all of our English-speaking clients. And so the more volunteers we have that can help serve that community in a culturally wonderful way, we're really in need of that, and that would be most welcome. But volunteers, like I said, do almost everything that needs to be done at the food bank. So we have over 100 volunteers that are helping just with the event on Sunday. And there are other special events throughout the year. We have volunteers who help at our antique store, which is open 7 days a week. And then all of the folks who serve our clients on a daily basis in the food bank, over the counter, stocking shelves, doing deliveries, answering our phones, everything. They're all volunteers, and many of them are also clients there, which is a really wonderful thing. So if you're looking for a way to give to the community and to do it at a place that that I think you'd enjoy being and feel a part of the community yourself, it's really meaningful and wonderful work.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I want to thank you for the work that you are doing at Food for Thought Food Bank and the work that your organization is doing at large for the community.
Well, thank you. We're really proud of what we do and really excited to be expanding to serve more people who are in need.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go here, and I want to wish you a good night. Thanks for doing all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on the show.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night. And again, if you are just tuning in right now, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I am your host, Kaiya Kramer, here on KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga. And again, we're going to jump into the news and perspectives portion of the show here after this short break. Again, you're listening to the Queer Life Radio Show. Talk to ya.
Niños como yo escuchan KBBF 89.1 FM, la voz de tu comunidad, porque es divertida.
El sol brilla y el aire fluye con buena información a través de la frecuencia modulada de KBBF 89.1.
All right. Hello, everybody. Again, you are listening to the Queer Life Radio Show, LGBT news, modern perspectives, roundtable discussions, and interviews. I'm your host, Kaiya Kramer, here on KBBF 89.1 FM, Calistoga. And this is episode 60, Sonoma County Rural Transgender Conference, Translife. I interviewed Dr. Suegee Tamar-Mattis from Santa Rosa Health Clinics, and I interviewed Rachel Gardner from Food for Thought HIV Food Bank in Forestville that's having an event this Sunday. You can find links and the actual interviews that I just did on the queerlife.org episode 60 right now. If you go onto the interwebs on your mobile smartphone or your internet-connected tablet of choice, or on your desktop or whatever, Mac, PC, Linux, you'll be able to get on and find it, no problem. Basically, if you have the ability to watch a YouTube video, which is most people who have interwebs, you can check out the show. But again, this show airs every Friday night, 6 to 8 p.m., and every Tuesday night, 9 to 11 p.m. here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga, and every Wednesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. on KWTF 88.1 FM Bodega Bay, which also has a web stream as well. So bringing you local and national and global LGBT news and perspectives, because that's what the show is. It's perspectives. Of course, I try to present it in a way that doesn't present too much bias, but of course that leaks through because I'm blathering into a microphone right now. But Next up here in the news and perspectives portion of the show, more info about our favorite Kentucky county clerk, Kim Davis. Bill Browning on advocate.com writes, Vatican disputes Kim Davis's version of papal meeting. Papal spokesman Federico Lombardi is disputing Liberty Council's version of the meeting between renegade anti-gay county clerk Kim Davis and the Pope, saying people shouldn't read too much into it. It was reported recently that while the Pope was in D.C., he had a secret meeting with Kim Davis, that county clerk, who was denying writing same-sex marriage licenses despite a Supreme Court ruling and the federal government, and facing contempt of court charges and going to jail for it. Now she thinks that she's being held up like Rosa Parks by a lot of people out there for standing up for her religious beliefs. After Davis recounted the experience to ABC News, and her attorney, Liberty Council Chairman Matt Staver, claimed the Pope told the defiant anti-gay clerk to, quote, stay strong. The Vatican now says Pope Francis did not talk about Davis's defense of federal law in denying same-sex couples marriage licenses. In fact, the Vatican claims that Davis's audience with the Pope wasn't even a private meeting, as she and Staver have repeatedly claimed. Quote, the Pope did not enter into the details of the situation of Mrs. Davis, and his meeting with her should not be considered a form of support of her position in all of its particular and complex aspects, Lombardi said in a prepared statement this morning. Quote, Pope Francis met with several dozen persons who had been invited by the nunciature to greet him as he prepared to leave Washington for New York City. Such brief greetings occur on all papal visits and are due to the Pope's characteristic kindness and availability. The only real audience granted by the Pope at the nunciature was with one of his former students and his family. So what they're basically saying here is that this was not a specific private meeting with Kim Davis, and that they're saying no direct endorsements of her standing up to the law in terms of issuing same-sex marriage licenses in her duty as county clerk of Kentucky, Rowan County. He's not, the Vatican saying that this is not a formal stance that they're taking on that. They're not taking a stance on it. Although I will point out that in Pope Francis's congressional address, he did say that if you had to answer to your boss or the government, that you always should defer to your higher authority, as in your higher authority of God. So there's a little bit of confusion there. There's on one hand, he's saying that you defer to the authority of God, and on the other here, they're not saying that they support Kim Davis's stance on not doing her job to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. So again, I'm just bringing up information. I'm just asking questions, and I leave that up to you, the listener, to decide. Does Kim Davis have the rights to not issue same-sex marriage licenses? I'm not asking does she have the right to believe that same-sex marriage is an abomination. I'm asking you if she has the right to refuse giving marriage licenses to them, even though she's been ordered by the United States of America to do so, and has been hired by the United States and by her constituents. Anyhow, you can find that article and more on thequeerlife.org, episode 60. This is an article by Bill Browning on advocate.com. Vatican disputes Kim Davis's version of papal meeting. Next up here from SethGodin.typepad.com. I like to present psychological articles and exploration of understanding and awareness of self because no, it's not specifically LGBT news, but it's something that affects us all. Like I've said previously in our numerous episodes, the show is not really just about queer life. This show is about human life. This is about our condition of all being earthlings here on planet Earth and having to cohabit this planet together and do so in a way that's generally safe for most people who are constructive to our society. And again, we all have different definitions of what and who are constructive to this society. I leave that up to you. But here's an article that I think a lot of us can relate to, and it's called On Feeling Like a Failure. Feeling like a failure has little correlation with actually failing. There are people who have failed more times than you and I can count who are happily continuing in their work. There are others who have achieved more than most of us can imagine, who go to work each day feeling inadequate, behind, and yes, like failures and frauds. There are not cases of extraordinary outliers. In fact, external data is almost useless in figuring out whether or not someone is going to adopt the narrative of being a failure. Failure, as seen from the outside, is an event. It's a moment when the spec isn't met, when a project isn't completed as planned. Feelings, on the other hand, are often persistent, and they're based on stories we tell ourselves as much as the stories the world tells us. As a result, if you want to have a feeling, you'll have it. If you want to seek a thread to ravel, you will. You'll pull at it and focus on it until, in fact, you are proven right. You are a failure. Here's the essential first step. Stop engaging with the false theory that the best way to stop feeling like a failure is to succeed. Thinking of oneself as a failure is not the same as failing. Did you hear that? If you're thinking that you're a failure, it's not the same as actually failing. And thus succeeding on this particular task is not the antidote. If you win or succeed, it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel like you're a failure anymore. You can succeed over and over again and still feel like a failure. Sound familiar? In fact, if you act on this misconception, you are setting yourself up for a lifetime of new evidence that you are, in fact, correct in your feelings, because you will ignore the wins and remind yourself daily of the losses. Instead, begin with the idea that the best way to deal with a feeling is to realize that it's yours. So again, just a state of mindfulness and awareness of okay, I'm not feeling like that, like I'm succeeding at this. I feel like I'm failing. You may or may not be, because feelings are just that. They're feelings. And if you succeed, it doesn't necessarily mean that feeling of failure is going to go away. What Seth Godin here is saying is realize that you have these feelings, own these feelings, and move on. That is from Seth Godin on SethGodin.typepad.com on feeling like a failure. You can find that article and more on thequeerlife.org. I've got next up here is from planettransgender.com. Kelly Busey writes, Maryland trans woman first to successfully sue the prison system for mistreatment. And so Sandy Brown was kept in solitary confinement for 66 days and 23 hours a day, as in she only got out of her solitary confinement cell for 1 hour a day. She was ridiculed and she was coaxed to kill herself. But she has won a tremendous victory for all transgender inmates. She says, quote, "They put me in solitary confinement just because I'm transgender. I spent 24 hours a day in solitary. I was only allowed 1 hour of recreation during the entire 66 days I was there," stated Miss Brown, the plaintiff in this case. "They didn't see me for the human being I am. They treated me like a circus act. They gawked, pointed, made fun of me, and tried to break my spirit," she added. "Imagine if every time you took a shower, someone pulled back the curtain to stare at you. What if they called other people over to watch and humiliate you? How would it feel if someone told you that you should kill yourself and they made you feel like an animal or less than human?" That is what this case is about, said Rebecca Earlbeck, staff attorney at Free State Legal, who represented Miss Brown along with Jer Welter, deputy director and a managing attorney of Free State Legal. Ms. Brown, a transgender woman, was held in solitary confinement for 66 days. Just because she is transgender. And while she was there, prison guards ridiculed her, encouraged her to commit suicide, and even pulled the shower curtain back so a group of corrections officers could look at her naked body as she showered, said Earlbeck. She was so humiliated and afraid she actually considered committing suicide. In the decision, a Maryland administrative law judge concluded that this misconduct violated national standards for protection of transgender inmates, and that Ms. Brown should receive compensation for the degradation and humiliation she endured. The Secretary of Maryland's Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services formally adopted the judge's determinations that Maryland must adopt new comprehensive policies for the protection of transgender inmates in prison housing assignments, searches, and interactions between guards and transgender inmates, and must institute mandatory training on these policies for all correctional officers. That is from Kelly Busey on planettransgender.com. Maryland trans woman first to successfully sue the prison system for mistreatment. And mind you, we have indeed come a long way in terms of trans treatment within the American prison system. But I mean, just within the last 2 years here, trans women have been declassified from effeminate homosexual to actually being called transgender now. But still, trans women are being housed with men, with the male population at male prisons, and it's on the basis of what genitals somebody has, whether a trans woman has a penis. If a trans woman doesn't have a penis, if she's had gender reassignment surgery, also known as the sex change operation, if she's had the surgery, she will be put in a women's prison, but she may also be put into solitary confinement, because a lot of the correctional officers and prison staff are not sure what to do in terms of putting these people in for safety. And mind you, this my presenting this here is not a criticism of the prison system. It's not trying to say that everything's wrong and that there's a quick answer. There is no quick answer. There's no easy way to solve this issue here. It's just an issue worth looking at, and I leave the thoughts and the answers up to you, the listener, to understand, and the voting public in terms of what actions need to be taken. Again, you can find that article and more on thequeerlife.org. The last piece of news that I'll be presenting here is from fastcompany.com by Lydia Dishman, why we're still so far behind on gender equality at work. Sheryl Sandberg is not happy. Facebook's COO and author of Lean In and founder of the organization that goes by the same name says corporate America is not on a path to gender equality. Far from it. Quote, if NASA launched a person into space today, she could soar past Mars, travel all the way to Pluto, and return to Earth 10 times before women occupy half of C-suite offices, she writes in the Wall Street Journal. Yes, we're that far away. Sandberg knows the numbers because today leanin.org and McKinsey & Co. released the results of a study that say that there's 118 companies and nearly 30,000 employees that found corporate diversity initiatives aren't doing much to change the ratio, not just in the C-suite where the disparity is greatest, but at every corporate level. The opt-out myth. The female leadership is essential to having a high-performance organization, although many people point to the number of women who opt out of climbing the corporate ladder in pursuit of work/life balance. The report indicates that the reality is far more complex, but it boils down to this. Women face greater barriers to advancement and a steeper path to senior leadership. Sound familiar, ladies? For starters, the report found that contrary to popular opinion, women aren't leaving their jobs at higher rates than men. Their departures are about the same or less than men's. For those who rise to leadership, their loyalty for the company is stronger. Senior vice presidents who are female are 20% less likely to leave than their male counterparts at the same level. Get women to the C-suite and they're about half as likely to leave. Only at the senior management level do women leave more than men, but the difference is small. 9.2% of women versus 8.6% of men. That's a 0.6% difference. There is a thick glass ceiling. The findings indicate that the glass ceiling is as thick as ever in the corporate sphere. Across the advancement board, from entry level to manager and from SVP to executive rank, women are less likely to advance, with the greatest disparity occurring between manager to director. Women are only 79% as likely to reach that level compared to 100% of men. You can find this article and more available on thequeerlife.org. This article is by Lydia Dishman on fastcompany.com, Why We're Still So Far Behind on Gender Equality at Work. We've just about run out of time here on the Queer Life Radio Show, and I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. This is episode 60 of the Queer Life Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. If you'd like to listen to the interviews of this show and catch up on all the details and get educated on all the modern and present issues in the world about LGBT, tune in to thequeerlife.org, subscribe to our podcast, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, pin us on Pinterest, add me on LinkedIn. So what the heck is the point of LinkedIn? Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for listening to the show. And again, as I've said on previous episodes here, if you are out there questioning your gender identity, questioning your sexual orientation, and you are struggling to understand your own existence and how you're fitting in to your home, your family, your work, your life, just know that you aren't alone, and that I'm not going to lie to you. Life is hard. Yeah. But there is a way to make things better for yourself. And it doesn't mean that it's going to come overnight. You're going to have to work hard. And yeah, you can say it's not fair. But yeah, it isn't fair. I'll agree with you there, but I'll let you know, as a transgender woman of color, I'm on the radio. I've got successful work. I have an education, and I've had to struggle for it, but I am here and I'm happy, and I know that you can find happiness too. You just have to put in the work to make yourself get into a better place, and there are resources available. If you need help or need access to resources, get the resources. We've got a list of resources available on the queerlife.org/help. There's a get help link at the top of the page. And if you're not sure and you just need help, just shoot an email to the website, and I will link you up with somebody who can guide you in the right direction. Again, thank you so much. You've been listening to the Queer Life Radio Show here on KBBF 89.1 FM Calistoga. I wish you a wonderful night. Thanks for listening. Tune in again next Friday.